Hi family and friends, welcome to Glow's Kinder Kitchen and I'm Glow. Well, today I decided that I would show you one of the ways that I make chicken pot pie. And I went ahead and got some of the stuff started, so let's go ahead and we'll take a look and see what we got going on here. The first thing I did is I melted 1 tablespoon of butter in here, salted butter, along with 1 tablespoon of olive oil, but not the extra virgin. And I cut up about 1/2 cup of onion and the same of celery. And what we're going to do is just saute that in here.
Saute away.
Yep, I think I saw one just jump right out of there. He didn't want to go in there, but he's not winning. I'm just going to stir that up lightly. And at the same time, I'm going to throw in just a small piece of a bay leaf.
Fine.
What I'm using today for this chicken pot pie is I have some leftover chicken from yesterday. We had baked some chicken for dinner and I had 2 thighs left. So I went ahead and deboned it and took the skin off, so that's ready to go. I had a little bit of gravy left, probably about 1 cup, maybe 1 1/4 cups. And that's milk based. And then also from the other week, I always freeze leftover chicken broth. This is some chicken broth that I had left, so I took that out and defrosted it. And then I took about 1/2 cup of potato, and the same with carrot, and I diced it up real small, and I cooked this in the microwave on high for about 1 and 25 seconds. So what we're doing now is we're just waiting for this to get kind of soft, and let me turn up my burner a little bit. So anyway, this is probably going to take about 5 minutes, so I'll be back and we'll go on to the next step. Well, our onion and our celery have been busy sauteing away here. It looks like we're ready now to add the rest of the stuff. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add the potato and the carrot. I'm using a slotted spoon here so that I can remove some of the potato and carrot out of that broth, or the water, I should say, that the potato and carrot were cooked in. And I'm not going to throw this water out because I may need it.
How much water was it in this bowl?
Oh, maybe at the most 1/2 cup. Probably more like 1/3.
Fine.
Just enough to cover the potatoes and the carrots to cook them.
Excellent.
And I could, cut up the carrot and the potato into bite-sized pieces. Like you can see how the the potato was cut up.
Yes.
Here's some carrots, so you can see how they were cut. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little marjoram. These herbs that I'm adding pair very well with chicken. This here, it's thyme leaves. That's maybe 1/4 teaspoon. And I just rub it in my hand to get those needles from the pine to start, or actually they're leaves, but it feels like needles when it's dry, to start to get their oils going. Same with the sage. This is rub sage. I'm just going to put that in. You can really smell it. Kind of smells like dressing for chicken or turkey.
Yes.
If you have mushrooms on hand, you could add mushrooms to this, whatever you like. Today I didn't have any mushrooms on hand, unfortunately. Otherwise I would have added that as well. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I have probably about 1/4 cup of flour here. I'm not probably going to use all of that. The reason I'm putting that in is to just help thicken up the butter and stuff in the olive oil that was in here. And the reason I'm putting it in right now is I like to brown that flour. It's going to give it a nice toasty nutty type flavor to this. When I make my gravy, it's the same thing. I always brown the flour. So this is going to take about a minute or so, I'll be right back and we'll go on to the next step. Well, our flour has been toasting here, real nice browning. You can hear it as I'm scraping it off. You can see the browning. And that's going to be that's our friend. That's going to give us a lot of flavor for this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this gravy that I have left. Now if I didn't have leftover gravy, what I would have done is I would have added about 2 tablespoons of butter to this, plus the 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and then I probably would have put in 1/4 cup of flour. As it was, I used about 1/8. But that way it'll, you know, give you some gravy. But since I have this, I'm going to use it. There we go. So I'm going to just stir that around. And then I'm going to add some of this chicken broth. Anytime you have chicken broth left, put it in the freezer because you can use that in so many different dishes. So we're going to let this warm up now. What we want to do is to bring this up to a low simmer, and then we'll be adding our chicken. And then I also have some green peas over here as well that we'll be adding. So I'll be back in just a little bit. Well, this has been about 5 minutes. I just wanted you to look at this. See how thick that is?
Looking good.
So what we're going to do next is I'm going to add the chicken to it. And I, you know, broke this apart in different size pieces. But this is going to be just delicious, you guys. This is a great way to use leftover chicken. This was 2 chicken thighs. And I can tell I'm going to need some more chicken broth. The first go around we put in about 1/2 cup, so I'm going to go ahead and add probably about 1/4 cup there, and I have another 1/4 cup there in the jar still. But see how nicely that just settles that right down, gives it a nice consistency.
Looks good in this glow.
Yeah. So I'm going to let this just cook a little bit more to warm up, and then I'll be back and we're going to do the crust together. Well, I got my chicken here cooking away. You can see how nice that looks. I'm going to add a little bit more of this chicken broth to it. We might end up using that whole cup before it's over. All right, so I have just turned on my oven to 350 degrees. This particular recipe calls for us to take 3/4 stick of butter. So I'm going to go, that's 6 tablespoons, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in the oven to melt. And I'll be back in just a little bit. Well, I've got my chicken mixture on low right now, and you can see it's just a slow bubble, which is perfect. So we're going to go ahead and make our crust. I've got the butter melting in the pie plate in the oven at 350 degrees. Now, I've got 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. I'm going to put that in my sifter. I'm going to start off with about 1 tablespoon of sugar. May need a little bit more, but if we do, I have it here. Then we need 1.5, that's about 1/2, of baking powder. And a little bit of salt, about 1/2 teaspoon. If you like more salt, go for it. And we're just going to do that. Just sift it. Let me put my sifter over here. So, Lucy, I think, wants some of this. So then all I got now to do is to put 3/4 of a cup of whole milk in here.
Either that or she's got to go out. Hang on, Lucy.
So we're going to just stir this together, and this is going to make a thin batter. Well, you're probably thinking to yourself, now this doesn't look like a traditional chicken pot pie. And you know what? You're right. But I must say, this is delicious and so much easier. There we go. See how nice and thin that is?
Very thin, Miss Chloe.
Get a few more lumps out of it. So I'm going to check the butter in the pie plate in the oven and see how that's coming along. And let's see what this is looking like. I think we should add the rest of this. There's not hardly anything left in here. So we're just going to pour that in because that has a lot of nice flavoring in it. Oh yeah. And I'm going to go ahead and add our peas. There's probably between 1/3 and 1/2 cup of green peas here that are frozen peas. So we'll just stir that in. And I'll be back in just a moment after I check our pie plate. Well, I just took the butter and the pie plate out of the oven. And now we're going to put this batter in there. And it just took 1 tablespoon of sugar. So it's 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour and the 1 tablespoon of sugar along with 3/4 of a teaspoon of the baking powder. Or wait, no, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. I'm sorry. So we're going to go ahead and put that in.
It'll be less than the ingredients anyway.
Yeah, but let me go ahead and scoop the rest of this out. We don't want to waste. The time before when we made this was so good, we decided this is definitely going to be one of our go-tos for a chicken pot pie.
It's definitely good. Very good.
So I went ahead and I tasted this. It's delicious. I didn't have to add any additional salt or pepper or bouillon or anything. But I did use my chicken broth that was seasoned. And I used my gravy that was seasoned. So that makes a difference. Plus I put my herbs in it. I did want to mention to you, I did take my bay leaf out. When you use a bay leaf, always remove it before you eat. And since we're making this and it's going to have a crust over it, it would be hard to find. So now we're going to go ahead, let's see if I can do it like this for you guys. And this might be too much. It might be that we're not going to use all of it. Maybe just a little bit more.
And put a little more in there, Miss Chloe.
You think that's enough, or should I put more?
That's probably enough.
I'll
Yeah,
put
maybe
one more.
just half a scoop there.
Yeah. So we don't want this to go all over the place.
No.
But we'll have extra in reserve if we want it. So now this is going to bake in the oven at 350 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes. And I'll be watching it starting at 30 minutes. I do have a cookie sheet on the oven rack below it, just in case something, you know, goes over the pie plate. It hasn't done that to me yet before, but you never know. It's better to be safe than sorry. So anyway, we'll be back, and the goal here is to have this crust come up over the pie. So we'll be back in a little while. We'll see what this looks like. Well, I just took our chicken pot pie out of the oven and it smells delicious.
It does.
It did take a little longer than the 30 minutes. I think one of the reasons is because this is a deep dish pie plate. And the last time I made it, in fact, the other times I've made it, it was just in a regular pie plate. So it does make a difference. If I use this pie plate again, I will probably increase the amount of the batter by another 1/4%. But it looks delicious, and we are really looking forward to having this. It's going to have to cool though, so at about 10 minutes or 15 minutes, we'll take a sample of it. Well, our pot pie is done, and we cut a piece out of it. Look how nice that turned out, you guys. It smells so good. I'll take a bite. Lucy wants some too. Oh, it smells so good. You can smell those herbs in there with that chicken. Mmm. So flavorful. And that chicken. Try another bite. I need to try some of the crust too. Look at that crust.
Looks good. I'm anxious to eat my plate.
This is delicious, you guys. It's so easy.
So easy.
Great way to use leftovers, and it doesn't take that long either if you were to cook your chicken up ahead of, the same day. The last time I did it, I actually simmered my chicken, and that's where that chicken broth came from. You just, season up your water and everything. But anyway, I'm glad you joined us today, and I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to, shoot me a message about it. I'd be more than happy to help you. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do. Give me a like, thumbs up, comment, and thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. We'll talk to you later. Bye.